Hi there, Gary Harper here from Deputy UK and welcome to the Reporting 101 webinar. The reports you have access to depends on the subscription plan you have. In the scheduling only plan, you'll notice when you click on the Reports tab, you're advised you'll need Deputy Premium to gain access. However, should you need to simply export some total hours and planned costs data, you can still export this directly from the schedule page itself. Select the data you'd like to export in terms of the location or particular area and date range and click Export. The export options list will be slightly different depending on the view type that you have selected. You can download the shifts data with hours and costs information directly in a listed CSV format. Or if you prefer to export as it looks on screen, then choose one of the print types which you can print directly or save a local Excel or PDF file first. On the timesheets only plan, you do have access to the Reports tab, but you'll find just two simple reports available, as they are based on timesheet functionality, journaling, which again I'll cover in depth shortly, as well as an overview of timesheet clock-in locations, also covered later. On this plan, you have no access to scheduling features, but a wealth of export options in the timesheet section. Deputy Premium certainly offers the best value, where you have exclusive access to an advanced collection of standard and fully customizable and exportable reports. If after discovering how much you could benefit from accessing these, it's simple to upgrade to Premium through the billing section in your profile, so long as you are a system admin on your account. Remember, the monthly plans don't tie you in, so you can always revert back to your original choice if need be. In Deputy Premium, you have 7 standard report templates, each of which can be clicked into to expand and delve into more detail. Note that only system administrators and location managers can access the Reports tab by default. You can track many important details regarding your staff's performance, including their availability, rostered hours, journal history, and personal details. At the top of each report is a printer icon, in case you would prefer to have physical copies for your records. The Employee Details report shows basic information about each employee, including work locations, birthdays, age, tenure, contact details, and activity. After running the report, each section can be accessed by selecting the relevant checkbox. This can be useful to see who has missing vital information, who has a birthday this month, who is less than 6 months in their business, for example. And you can save each of these as a PDF before printing if required. Deputy Journaling is a great way to leave comments on team member performance that you and other authorised managers can view. In the Journal Usage Report, you can track how many positive, negative, or other labelled comments that each employee has accumulated and report on any trends. You can use this data over time to identify consistently high-performing team members, as well as staff who may need extra support and mentoring. The journal categories are customisable, so please reach out to the support team should you want to add to these with your own unique labels. Adding a journal entry can be done directly via the employee's profile. Via the People tab, search for the employee, then click their name to open their profile, where you'll find journals on the left-hand side. Click Add New to create a new date-stamped entry and add it to the relevant category before pressing Save. Recent journal entries appear in this area, but for the bigger picture, head to the Journal report through the Main Reports tab to filter by date, category, and employee name. You can also add entries at the timesheet approval stage, the perfect time to capture a late entry for future reference, or if there's a comment particular to that shift that's fresh in the mind. So when it comes to appraisals, one-to-ones, you're armed with plenty of feedback. It's important to add that journal entries cannot be seen by the employee access level, and no one can see entries about themselves. The Leave Management Report is also covered in more detail in the specific Leave Management webinar, which is also available to view in this UK Deputy Video Training Library, which I'm going to link to at the end of this webinar. The Leave Management dashboard displays a snapshot of leave and allows you to action modifications to leave balance. You can see leave accruals in this dashboard too, and it's divided into 3 sections: So we have leave balance, the employee's current leave balance, approved leave, the total amount of leave as approved in the future. This applies only for future leave requests and not leave which has already been taken. Leave remaining is how much leave the employee has minus their approved leave. So it's the leave balance minus approved leave. You can filter to view leave remaining for employees with a certain leave type and filter further by whether they are entitled to that leave entitlement or not, or both. You can also click on the headers of the columns to sort highest to lowest and vice versa. To edit an employee's leave, first set a filter based on the leave type you would like to modify. Leave requests will appear in the report on the right side of the screen. Clicking the employee name will open up their profile. However, clicking the leave date range will open up the request, allowing you to approve or decline the request. The report builder, which we'll cover in more detail, has a helpful approved leave this year template showing exactly that. Once you select to load the report, you will see a summary report which you can select to edit. The report is pre-filtered to show you all of the approved leave this calendar year as of the time you open it. It will also show you each leave request for each employee and the hours you have approved for them. If you need to, you can use the filter button to edit the date range of the report, depending on the time frame you'd like to consider. You could also add or remove fields as necessary. I'd like to see the leave comments at the time of request. So simply search for the field you'd like to add, then drag it into the section here. Now we can even group by leave type or status, as well as employee name. We can run this report to see it in full, or export it as an Excel file to manipulate further with filters. The Deputy Custom Report Builder allows you to create custom reports based on any bit of retrievable data in Deputy. On my dashboard here, you can see I've saved a few I made earlier for easy future access. These reports are saved into my login and will only be viewable by others if I export them first. In the first instance, you can choose whether to create a report based on a template, or if you click the header, you'll be taken straight into the editor where there's a few things to consider. Let's start by covering exactly what's on screen here. So the main window holds the fields in columns. These can be resized and rearranged by clicking between to expand and retract, and clicking and dragging to change the order. The fields available are initially based on which primary data source is selected, and then searchable from the search box. You can then click and drag another field over, which will place it at the end of the group. You can also remove fields by clicking the X. At the top left, we have a configuration section. This has two parts to it. Firstly, the filter, also accessible above the first column, which allows you to refine the data by your chosen criteria. For example, a specific date range, location, and many other options. The second part is grouping. This is where we can group by several fields too, such as employee name, area name, and loads more. Alongside the configuration menu, we have options for loading previous saved reports, saving new ones, refreshing the page, and exporting or printing what's on screen. We often get asked, what kinds of reports do customers find most useful? So let's load up a late report to use as an example. Click Load, then choose one to open. Here we can see this report is using timesheet information as its primary data source, which makes sense as we're looking at the source of truth. What start and end times staff have clocked, so we can compare that to what was originally scheduled to spot and collate the late entries. I'll start from fresh by removing all of the fields. The quickest way to add fields is to type what you're looking for in the search box. I'll start with employee name, then the timesheet date so we can filter by date range. Then I want to see the scheduled start time, followed by the actual timesheet clocking information. To focus on the late arrivals, we'll add a calculation field here and select late arrival from the menu. This will show which timesheets have a later start than scheduled. Click Save and we can now see some of these timesheets were late arrivals. Then we can go further by adding another calculation field to determine how late in minutes each shift was. This does require a more complex calculation, but it's straightforward to copy and paste from the Deputy Help Guide. So if you head to deputy.com/help and simply search for the late report, here you'll find the calculation details to copy and then paste into this area. Hit save and now we can see the number of minutes some timesheets were over their planned start time. Now it's just a case of adding a filter to focus on just the late ones. Click Filter and choose the late arrival field. Is equal to yes. Finally, let's group by employee. Click Configuration, Group by, Display Name. There we go. This can be an extremely insightful report. If you're not tracking repeated lateness or timesheets are approved carelessly, over time you could be overpaying your staff significantly for time not being spent working. You could create a similar report for late clockouts to discover how much unauthorized overtime is being paid. The odd few minutes here and there truly do add up. For example, if you pay by the hour and just 3 employees at £10 an hour are just 15 minutes late to work twice a week, and 3 others clock out 15 minutes after the scheduled end time, that amounts to £1,200 per year in time theft. And that's what Deputy costs for 40 users for 12 months on an annual plan. So insight into your staff data using Deputy is very powerful and pays for itself very quickly. Another often requested report is around sick leave. Let's create a new one from scratch. This time we'll start by choosing leave as the primary data source. There's not much to change from the defaults here. All leave types are showing, so let's add a filter where we can choose any leave types that contain the word sick in their title. Also, I'll add a filter to the date range, so I'm focusing on sick leave from the start of the year. Back on the main reports page, you can see your dashboard will show your 4 most recent saved reports for easy access, but you'll find more in the load section in the report builder itself. The report builder is extremely flexible and gives you the opportunity to drill down in detail, highlighting anomalies or patterns that aren't obvious in the day-to-day. The schedule versus timesheet versus sales report. This report gives you a relatively comprehensive financial guide on employee costs in comparison to sales. You can view these by location, date range, and employee. The schedule versus timesheets versus sales report will allow you to compare your total sales in a given period versus the rostered hours of your employees, shown against the hours that they actually worked. In the short overview on the reports page, you'll be able to see a graph displaying the data from your current week. The blue column shows the total number of rostered hours, the green shows the number of hours actually worked, and the orange line shows your sales data. Clicking View Report allows us to dig into more detail. I'd like to see how the front of house team are being allocated and performing on Monday the 10th. What we can see here is the totals of scheduled hours, actual worked and approved hours, the difference, then the total cost planned versus actual paid, what was salary allocated and overall cost variance, and finally the day's sales amount and wages versus sales percentage. The graph above is helpful to see if there are any obvious issues. For example, here I can see a sales dip in the mid to late afternoon, so I could probably afford to have 1 or 2 fewer staff members scheduled at this time to maximize profits. The Time Off and Schedules report is a handy team holiday and work planner. The overview is a quick glance into who's available and who's working this week. The full report allows you to drill down by location, date range, and employee. Here I'd like to see who had leave booked or unavailability at Erdsley Manor in January this year. Displayed on the report will be your employee's unavailability, approved leave, and scheduled shifts. If you click the Show All Employees button, all staff who have relevant information within your selected time period will be shown. This report can then be saved as a PDF and shared in the newsfeed for all staff to see. Employee timesheet locations. The timesheet location report will pull up a map displaying all of the locations. Each location will have a pin. The pins can be 4 different colours and will correspond with the following. Red pin is the physical location. Green pin is the employee clock-in location. The black pin is the employee clock-out location if they were on time. And the blue pin is the employee activity outside of the scheduled time. So clock-offs and breaks. That covers all the reports in the actual reports section. More detailed timesheet reports can also be created and exported in the Timesheets Export section. So let's take a look at that now. From the Timesheet drop-down menu in the navigation bar, you will also see the option to export timesheets. The following screen will show a number of details, including a pay summary and employee breakdown. To export these timesheets, select the employee timesheets that you want to export from the list on the left-hand side, then click the blue Export Selected Items button under the item summary. From here, you are given a large number of export options. For the UK, realistically you'll only ever choose 1 or 2 of them. If you're after a simple total hours and total cost, there's 2 options you may find useful. The first is to select everything required, then click More Actions at the top right, click Print Selected Items, then select Full Summary with Pay Breakdown, and the last option is up to you but not too important. This opens this data in a print preview. So you could print this directly, or alternatively we can press Ctrl or Command A to select everything, then Ctrl or Command C to copy it all, go to a blank worksheet in Excel and hit Ctrl or Command V to paste everything into the spreadsheet. The second way is, once the relevant information in Deputy is selected, you can click Export and choose the CSV All Fields option. Upon downloading and opening this in Excel, it can be information overload when all we want is simple totals. So we can make a very quick pivot table. Click Insert, select Pivot Table and accept the default settings. On the right, we'll choose the employee name to be in rows, then total hours and total cost as values. This gives us simple totals per person and as a whole. Now, I know what you're thinking, those 2 examples are kind of workarounds. So I'm going to show you a new option now, which I think a lot of people are going to find really useful. It's called the Custom Payroll Exporter. Select your timesheets as usual, and then search for and choose the new Custom Exporter from the menu. Here you're presented with a stock list of fully editable fields which can be reordered, renamed and exported in a variety of specific formats that perhaps your particular payroll software may require. To start with, we'll start from scratch. I'll keep this one simple. First name, last name, payroll, which I'm going to rename to something more familiar, like pay rate type, total hours and total cost. Final thing to remember is to click Settings and click Group by Payroll Hours/Cost. So this is going to summarize all the different individual pay rates into one line per person. Click Apply, and then the final thing to do is click Export and Save. Upon saving and exporting this, we're presented with a clear, concise export with the totals for each pay rate per person, easy to sum as a whole with Control or Command, Shift and T beneath each column. And there we have it.